Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. I hope everybody enjoyed their holiday weekend and the rain that the basin received in late June. The rain at the end of June did increase the available supply in the Middle Rio Grande for a while, but we haven't seen much rain in the past week and river flows are dropping rapidly. I have a hydrograph of the Odawa index gauge. This is since the beginning of June. So as you can see, flows were trending down, and then about June 20th, you can see those two high intensity rain flows that came in and bumped the Odawa gauge up above 3,000 cubic feet per second. Flows are on the decline. So flows were on the decline in mid-June, and there were some significant rain inflows that brought supply up without continued rain, and the available flows are But without continued rain, the available flows are back down to 491 cubic feet per second. And for context, Middle Valley agricultural and conveyance demand today is about 850 cubic feet per second. So we are currently in that situation where the available supply is not enough to meet demand. And that'll take a little while to work its way down through the Middle Rio Grande itself. So we're seeing flows decline up on the Odawa gauge, and that will propagate down the rest of the system over the coming week. The district does have 15,000 acre feet of San Juan Chama water available in storage. San Juan Chama water is water that is imported from the San Juan Basin to the Rio Grande Basin as a part of the Bureau of Reclamation's San Juan Chama project. The MRGCD does not currently have the ability to release its San Juan Chama water right now because of the plug on the Rio Chama, as we went over it. And I do have a couple hydrographs that kind of illustrate what happened on the Chama. So this is the Chamita gauge. If we go back one more. This is at the end, at the bottom of the Chama before those flows go into the Rio Grande. So you can see those spikes. There was a couple of storms. There's actually one on I think the 19th, and then, or one on the 20th and one on the 21st. And I think it's the 21st rain event that brought in the sediment plug. The next hydrograph I have is the below Abiquiu Dam. So the Corps was slowly stepping down its releases out of Abiquiu because flows on the main stem were dropping. And then you can see that rapid decrease to 100 CFS, which they've maintained since the plug was formed. Current releases from Abiquiu have been limited to only 100 cubic feet per second. This release rate can change as the Bureau of Reclamation works on removing the plug. So I do believe that the plan is to slowly increase releases and use that water to mobilize a lot of that sediment. MRGCD San Juan Chama water is currently stored in Heron Reservoir, which is upstream of Abiquiu, and cannot be released for Middle Valley use while Abiquiu releases are restricted. This means that until the plug is removed, MRGCD will be a run-of-the-river system. The only available supply will be what the basin is naturally producing on the main stem of the Rio Grande, and irrigators should expect limited irrigation deliveries until the plug is removed. If the basin does not receive significant rain inflows, so obviously rain in the basin, bringing up river flows will change that outlook a little bit. Once the plug is removed and releases from storage can resume, the district does plan on using its San Juan Chama water to augment river flows. So looking to the short-term rain forecast from the National Weather Service, it's fairly promising, especially like in the northern part of the basin. But any rain that bolsters Rio Chama flows upstream of Abiquiu, I think keep in mind that those will also not be able to come out of Abiquiu until the plug is removed. The 90-day outlook from August through October is for above average temperatures and below average precipitation, and this is from the National Weather Service. But the local office is a little more optimistic about the monsoon rains in New Mexico because of the predicted really active hurricane season. They think that that typically brings on a later onset and fairly active monsoon season. And I think we've seen a fairly active monsoon season up to this point. So the local office is a little more optimistic than what these maps are showing. But with that, pray for rain, and I will stand for questions.
Madam Chair.
Not too much rain.
Yeah. Madam Chair, members of the board, and before you stand for questions, would you mind just providing an update on the joint letter between MRGCD and ABCWA to the Corps, which I think is relevant to this conversation?
Yes, so the ABCWA and the MRGCD, we sent a letter to the Corps asking the Corps to utilize their hold pool at Cochiti to allow us to augment river flows through the Middle Valley. And then that water, once we're able to move San Juan Chama water down to Cochiti, would be repaid at Cochiti. We did receive response back from the Corps that they are considering our request and that we will continue to coordinate to see if there's a path forward for us to release from that whole pool at Cochiti.
Yeah, Madam Chair, members of the board, obviously if the Corps were to agree to this, this would constitute a deviation, which I think if they so choose, this is warranted. They could provide us flexibility knowing that their water is secure above and can be replaced. And so it really is up to them, but I do appreciate Anne and her counterpart at ABCWA making that push and getting that letter in. I thought it was a good request, and I think continues to show the viability of flexibility along the main stem if with Cochiti.
Agreed. Diane Agnew drafted a very nice letter, and the Corps is evaluating whether or not they're authorized to do this, so that's currently what they're evaluating.